Consciousness as the source of creation itself is something that exists beyond the architecture of a world ruled by the laws of motion and inertia. And as a strategic advantage, organisms developed a quantum capacity to engage with consciousness in a way that will enable life to operate beyond the boundaries of a universe where the motion of physical objects and masses would only be defined by the physics of the energy committed towards their initial trajectory, and the forces applied would then define, the orbits or the locations of objects moving in an expanding universe. And so life, in the genesis of animals, in the genesis of life, developed the capacity to defy gravity, to change the location of your body as a function of time, required the capacity to manipulate, the capacity to access something that is at the source of everything itself. That your ability to run in one direction and change to the other is a complete defiance of all the natural laws of the universe, where the Earth doesn't have a choice but to orbit. The galaxies don't have a choice. That Halley's Comet doesn't have a choice. That the energy committed to the inert, lifeless universe is something that does not apply to the human being. That the human being can knock a comet right off its orbit. That life evolved the capacity to engage with something outside the boundaries of the architecture of a three-dimensional universe by tapping in to the very source itself. And that consciousness in its pure essence is not bound by the boundaries of time. That human beings that have discovered this connection towards something would try to tell people that there is something that has no limits, something that once connected towards it could cause even things to seem to manifest in the moment that must have been put into existence at the very beginning to unfold right now into the here and now. But you see, when you try to understand consciousness as a product of neurons, you can't. Because neurons, as single cell units that are ruled by physiology, that are ruled by action potentials and neurotransmitters, independent of some other integrating factor, force, would not have the ability to spontaneously collude in the genesis of spontaneous thoughts, ideas, motives, or have any semblance of freedom that would continue to defy the laws of motion. That your muscles, that your central nervous system, and that the consciousness that we connect with, that we experience ourselves through, does not have any existence within the three-dimensional architecture of a universe, because it exists, no doubt. You see and you experience and you feel, you taste and you touch through the apparatus of an organism, a body. But you aren't the body, are you? You aren't just the feelings, are you? You are the experience of being, experiencing itself through the machinery of a body that evolved to reach the pinnacle of consciousness. An unadulterated experience of present moment awareness that transcends to such an extent that the power of the mind becomes revealed as a universe generator, that it has enough power to take the whole of the universe into itself and experience itself, that when you look up at the galaxies, the galaxy forms within the architecture of a mind. That you look at a tree and every single leaf is already accounted for. And you look at an autistic person, tell you exactly how much change just hit the ground. The difference between you and that autistic person is they already have accounted for the fact that everything they're looking at is already within their mind. And that you're just disconnected from the powerful and total sum of all the cognitive processes that are seamlessly generating a perfected view of an external reality within the mind of a being who, if God had any capacity to intervene upon the suffering of its most blessed creation, the human being, it would be the human being itself. That without any intervention, this universe spawned into existence, whether through a big bang or whatever process you would want. And the organizing of principles of life were commanded in that moment to send into space, bending space and time to charge particles from a singularity, meant that every single particle would land exactly where it landed, so that the organizing of principles of life would just form without anything needing to intervene. And several billion years later, the universe is looking at itself for the first time in total awestruck and amazement. And the only illusion is that you are separate from the everything that's at the source of everything itself. An illusion of segregation is what severed the human into a me from the universe and cast us into hell, a reactionary paradigm of smallness within the animal fight-or-flight reaction, trapped by our own physiology, a necessary gray area for human beings to even have the language to recognize the gift of life, and that everything we've experienced has been a necessity for this process of self-actualization for us in the universe to be manifest through the experience of the most gifted collection of molecules in the entirety of creation. You and me. That any form of suffering relating to some notion of your own deficiency is the blasphemy and the sin that keeps you sequestered in your own personal hell. Where let there be light was the first moment the curtains of your eyelids separated and a universe started to take form within the infinite expanse of a brain that would manifest a consciousness in the likeness of the consciousness at the source of creation itself, the gift